Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
After a very promising start to this season, could it be already done for KC's wide receiver, Rashee Rice, attempting to make a tackle after Patrick Mahomes threw an interception?
We're used to teams saying, we don't know, MRI. Here, Andy Reid's being a little more honest. He's leaving hope alive, but I think they already know, which is really, really too bad.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event,
Welcome into Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show with Kasey Hudson, Dave Sharapan, Tom Vecchio, and Adam Kaufman. And I know you guys had this circled on your calendar because we told you last week this is where the fun and the information goes down. To get you ready for some Monday Night Football, we have got the Saints taking on the Chiefs, and I'm going to need these guys' help tonight because there's a few different directions I didn't know where to go with this game. We know the Saints defense has been surprisingly sharp so far this season. We know the Kansas City Chiefs have a very banged up roster, but you cannot count out the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, that was painful for me to say, guys, but at least you know I'm not being entirely biased when I have to be honest, and these guys keep me accountable. So let's get into it here on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid TV. We always like to start with the king. Dave, how's it going? What do you think about this Monday night matchup?
Great to be here at the party. Love the invitation every single week. Tom, Kaufman, you, the boys in the back, everybody's here. I didn't know what to wear tonight. And the last time I saw the Chiefs, I saw them in person here in Vegas. So I broke out the Super Bowl stuff because the way the NFL's going, it's been really hard to figure out who's good, who's not, who's going to the Super Bowl, and who we should maybe take in futures and things like that. So big picture, I said, you know what? I wear the Chiefs stuff that I wore the last time I saw them win, and I'm thinking Chiefs tonight, boys, but I don't know.
I was wondering what the take was with the gear, but you know what? I'll roll with it because the NFL has been pretty crazy lately. Sometimes you don't know who's going to pull off the W, and then sometimes it becomes very apparent. Adam, how are you feeling about this matchup tonight between the Saints and the Chiefs, and would you rock the gear that Dave has on so prominently?
It's like when Rob Lowe wore the shield, the NFL shield hat. He just wants to, represent everybody there with the Super Bowl. Although there's an element of exclusivity getting to play in the big game, obviously. I'm surprised you're not wearing a Detroit Tigers hat after they evened up their ALDS series with the Guardians. See? Yeah. I mean, the man comes prepared. He's
the
always
switch
got
is
it on
ready.
standby. Kasey, as far as this game tonight, I guess I'm to a certain degree going to talk out of both sides of my mouth. What I mean by that is if you said to me, hey, who's going to win? You're just putting together some sort of a money line parlay with maybe this football game and other stuff that's going on across the sports world. I would tell you the Chiefs. I expect Kansas City to remain perfect, improve to 5-0, join the Vikings as the only teams that have reached that plateau. However, and more on this later as the show goes on during this hour, I would go with the Saints at plus 5.5. I expect a close game. Both these teams are 3-1 against the spread so far this year, but in particular, if you look at the Kansas City side, because we've seen the Saints with a couple of lopsided wins, heavy offensive production, and then a couple of ugly losses where they couldn't seem to find the end zone. Every Chiefs game, all four of them, has stayed within a touchdown. And so, 5.5, I know it's, you're not right there in like key number territory necessarily. You'd rather be at a 6. But that being said, I do expect the Chiefs to win. I just think it's going to come down to the wire. Maybe not unlike last night's game, which was a sort of a subdued thriller, if I can put it that way, between the Cowboys and Steelers.
That's one way. You said Rob Lowe is that I want to rock right now. I'm going to get.
No, that's Rob Bass. My God.
Bass
Just kidding. Just kidding. Good thing I hummed most of that.
Rob Lowe is the actor.
Anyway, we're going to move on from my humming, and we're going to talk to Tom. Tom and I were here last night waiting to do a post-game show for that whatever you mentioned, Adam. Sort of game. So Tom and I are on the same page when we're just asking for, more excitement, a little more consistency, hopefully some props that really rock. And I'm not going to sing again, Tom, but what's your take?
And also maybe start on time. That would be
right.
Too.
Very, very much so. I would appreciate it.
I would say my overall take for this game is largely in line with what Dave and Adam said. I think there's a lot of ambiguity in this game where we don't know what we're going to get. Would I be surprised to see this game end 24-20 in favor of the Chiefs? They win, they don't cover, we're super close on the over-under. That's what I'm expecting. Like we could have the game barely eke over in terms of getting on the over with a late score by the Chiefs. They're not going to cover. We've been seeing these games where they're keeping it close. They're not pulling out ahead. Their offense is super banged up. I also think that this is a big game in determining what we're going to see from the Chiefs moving forward from the rest of the season. Who is going to step up and fill some of that void now that Rice is gone? Kelsey had his first big game last week. We know they brought back Kareem Hunt. He had a solid game on the ground last week. Will that continue? What of the secondary players are going to step up and fill that role? And from the Saints, can they kind of right the ship after an explosive first 2 weeks where they're scoring 90-plus points, and then they come, crashing back down to earth? I will say, a lot of people note when they won, or I should say when they lost versus Atlanta, they didn't give up an offensive touchdown. So their defense kind of keeping things in check, and versus a weakened Chiefs offense, could we be seeing much of that tonight? So again, not expecting a massive amount of points. A 24-20 final, I think, is very realistic in favor of the Chiefs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But as we've said, some wild football, things can get lopsided pretty quickly here. Heading into this matchup so far, we're seeing a 5.5 spread, a 43.5 total. But you're looking at, keeping in mind strength of schedule thus far, a New Orleans team leading in scoring when it comes to 31.8 points per game versus a Chiefs team as dynamic as they started off, sitting at 23 points per game. So when you're looking at this spread and this total, Sports King, talking to you, how do we navigate this heading into this matchup, taking all the considerations of what the primetime games have looked like and obviously what the current rosters look like, but most importantly, what defensively strong and sound rosters have done to opposing teams?
Oh, it's one of those situations where you see patterns develop in the NFL in general. Dogs have been good. Dogs have been covering, and dogs have been winning. They're off to the best start through 5 weeks of the NFL. In 1960 is 64 years, okay? Since the modern NFL became the modern NFL, underdog bettors have never had a better start to the season. So
Dave, you got to kind of like. I'll give you a number, all right? Underdogs, because it directly applies to tonight. Underdogs of at least 5.5 points. And again, the Saints are 5.5 point dogs tonight. Underdogs of at least 5.5 points so far this season are 19-4-1 against the spread with 14 outright wins, which includes the only two that was applicable for so far this week coming into tonight, both the Giants and Cardinals outright upsets yesterday.
Wow, so we're really seeing the definition, that meme of who's got that dog. And then, Adam, I'll keep this one with you for a minute, actually, because with that 43 total and us looking at what's taken place with the underdogs, most importantly, how teams have just been able to take off scoring-wise, some people think that the Chiefs' defense is on the weaker side and that the Saints' offense can have themselves a day. Is there any stay away from this total, or would you go for the under or the over?
No, I'm on the under, although what Tom said makes a lot of sense. And obviously, if we got a 24-20 game, you've crossed the number because the total is 43. So it's kind of a scary number, but I'm sort of inclined to believe in the trends where generally in these nationally televised island games, as it were, we see unders. You know, last night, same situation. For me, I went in, I was on the under, but it was sort of a scary hold your nose type of number. And it cleared, and honestly, it cleared pretty sweat-free. We got a little bit more production in the second half, but there were 9 points at halftime of that game. So I think we're looking at another under tonight.
Oh, see, I was nervous to touch the under. That's why I liked what Tom broke down so much. But guess what? That's why you got four minds coming together to bring you the breakdown for this Monday Night Football matchup. Saints, Chiefs getting ready to go down. But you want to continue to hang out with us here on Pro Football Today for the pregame party, because we're going to continue to break down some prop bets, maybe get into some first half teas. Do I have a surprise quarter bet for these guys today? Who knows? Because we always have surprises for you on the pregame show. But I am excited to take things head to head, because I heard production trying to figure out where their bets should lie when it comes to the quarterbacks. When you see strong defenses versus Patrick Mahomes thus far this season, some of those passing yards aren't as sexy. So in order to get the best breakdowns, you're going to want to hang out with us. We got a quick break coming up here on SportsGrid. And as I remind you every single time, chat with us on SportsGrid over on X. We're going to continue to break everything down. So stay here with Pro Football Today, the pregame party here on SportsGrid TV. We'll catch you on the other side of this quick break.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here, and the Bills looked so good up until this point, and, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind, because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run of the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all strong, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from, just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant for that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back, because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show here on SportsGrid TV. Casey, Dave, Tom, and Adam to run you through all lines, odds, and edges heading into this Saints versus Chiefs matchup. We're talking about whether or not we really liked the under. Some of us might stick with it. Adam, for now. The rest of us, maybe not so much, but we got to take some things head to head because I've heard the production guys trying to figure out where to go when it comes to this quarterback conversation. So, of course, Tom, I'm going to kick it over to you. You got Patrick Mahomes right now sitting at over under 232.5 passing yards. You got Carr at 212.5 passing yards. Some people think Carr can come up with a stronger performance tonight. Where would you edge the better propage for this matchup?
It might have to be with Carr, and I'm not going to say it's going to be based on efficiency or an amazing game. It may come down to the game script where he's forced to pass the ball. If we do see the Chiefs pull out ahead again, I'm not expecting the Chiefs to cover, so we're with some really thin margins. Again, these are two pretty modest passing totals for quarterbacks, especially Mahomes. Obviously, he hasn't been off to like a flying start. He's not posting 300 yards every single game. I will say I am a little bit concerned with Carr and his overall efficiency. We have seen the Chiefs, especially on defense, be one of the best in the league, and that correlates with some of my props as we'll get into. The Chiefs have the second highest blitz percentage per dropback. That's 33.6%. So they get after quarterbacks. We know that's what they like to do. So if they are out ahead, and we do see some of the receivers, Kelsey, someone else step up to fill some of that offensive void with Rice being out, Carr may actually get there based on the fact that he needs to pass the ball and they can't control the ball on the ground with Kamara. So I kind of like Carr, and it's not because I think the Saints offense is going to be flying.
I totally agree with that. Adam, I'm going to take it to you and pick your brain on this one because, like I said, it's kind of a split decision back there, but most people are just kind of edging the fact that the stronger defense obviously being the Saints, and I love how Tom put it. We're not looking for efficiency, but just for the ability to be more productive can probably lean on Carr. Where do you lean?
Yeah, I just don't really know what to make of this game. You know, Tom made reference to game script, and I think, you know, intuitively we would like to say, well, the Chiefs are the better team. They're going to be ahead. Therefore, you know, Carr and the Saints, they're going to be playing from behind, be more inclined to pass the ball. Therefore, he's going to have the more inflated passing total. And that may very well be true. If you had asked me, you know, what is your expectation, whether that storyline, that narrative fits Carr better or Mahomes, I would lean toward Carr. I just think in terms of props, if we're playing props in this game, as so many of us are, and we'll give out our favorites later, I'm more interested in the receiver market, the running back market. I just don't know what to do with these quarterbacks, even with those modest passing totals. You know, they could both go under, they could both go over. I don't have a strong feeling about either one, other than to say if you're putting builders together, a lot of people like to do that with these primetime games.
Ooh.
If you're putting some even money builders together somewhere in that vicinity, then I would be comfortable, and I've done this already, going with both quarterbacks at 150 plus, you know, pulling them down to your base level and then going up from there, because that could be or should be a quote unquote safe number, even though, as we know, nothing is free in this gambling space.
No.
I thought you were going to say nothing is safe. Dave, I thought I heard you of react to the bill. No, nothing is safe, especially not here. I felt like I heard a reaction in terms of Adam mentioning the builder. Do you have anything to add to like ways to navigate this quarterback matchup before we get to the running back group? Because I think that's going to be a heavy topic that we have to dive into for this game.
I can't believe how low the numbers are. I feel like we went back to 1965. Patrick Mahomes is 232.5. And a quarterback in the NFL, Derek Carr, is 209.5. I mean, I guess books and odds makers and everybody's just expecting a really low-scoring, run-heavy game. Those numbers scream to me, at least the Carr one does, to play it under because listen, the Chiefs' defense has been the best unit for them on the field consistently for the first 4 games of the season. Expect that to continue. Now, the big play capabilities with those numbers seem like nothing. So I hope we can find a bet where we feel confident, because I don't feel nearly as confident in over for both quarterbacks. I don't expect a shootout tonight. So hopefully you got something on the head-to-heads with the running backs or the wide receivers, or, you know, everybody's favorite, the tight end, Case.
Oh, yes. I got some tight end love for us today, gentlemen, but I won't get ahead of myself quite yet. Tom, I'm going to take it to you as we start getting to some head-to-head action, because we talked about the fact that the passing props might be telling us something when it comes to these two quarterbacks, but something that stuck out to me is Kamara is the only running back that has any sort of favorable or decent line or number to go over-under. It's 65.5. I know Hunt's been banged up. They weren't 100% sure. He was listed as questionable earlier in the week. Then you got Mahomes, who uses his legs. You got Steele, who we've seen kind of take some action and alleviate for the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Chiefs don't really have a proper run game ability yet. Matching up pass defense-wise with the Saints is going to be problematic. That also speaks to a defensive prop that I have tonight, but where are you lining up between the running back group?
I'm certainly siding with Kareem Hunt. They brought him in for a reason. He is familiar with this system. The number I got him at was 42.5. If that's accurate, he's up at 48.5. That's some pretty significant movement. Last week, 14 for 69 yards on the ground. He also outsnapped Carson Steele, and we did see Steele fumble the ball. And a rookie running back fumbling the ball, never a good sign for a lot of offenses. So I'm going with Hunt. I expect Kamara to get there actually through the air in his receiving prop, because, again, I think the Chiefs may be out in front and the Saints have to play from behind. So we can touch on that a bit later.
Absolutely, and I was hoping somebody was going to go there. There was always one running back that it's just better to combine rush with receiving in order to hit that magic number, but we will see. We got another quick break coming up here, but on the other side of this break on the pregame party, it's time for us to get into some same-game parlay. And no, guys, I'm not going to interrupt and just throw myself into the mix and put a surprise card out there. This game was a little too much for me to really focus and hone in on, but as you said, Hunt has a specific role that he should be fulfilling. Kamara, I've been on the fence on, because most of his matchups versus the Chiefs, he either hasn't been involved because of injury, he's been low productivity because he's coming off of injury, and one of the last games we saw him in, he was sitting at roughly 54 rushing yards, but I think there could be a surprise element to him being healthy and a key part of this Saints offense. So don't go anywhere, SportsGrid fans. As I mentioned, we've got same game parlay on the other side of this break. We got more head-to-head to get into to get you prepared for the Saints taking on the Chiefs for Monday Night Football tonight. So head over to X, chat with us over there, but most importantly, stick with us on the other side of this quick break.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here, and the Bills looked so good up until this point, and, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind, because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run on the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all season long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from, just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back, because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show with Kasey Hudson, Dave Sharapan, Tom Vecchio, and Adam Kaufman. I'll tell you what I'm laughing about in a minute, but we've got some same game parlay to get into, so let's not waste any more time. Let's roll it, gentlemen. It's Monday for Monday Night Football, which means good old Coffer is going to get us started with the same game parlay. I was waiting for the moment for the hockey nickname. Oh, yes, I was. Go ahead and get us started for the same game parlay.
All right, well, here's where I'd like to start with my SGP, and we'll throw it up on the board so that everybody watching across SportsGrid TV can see it as well. I have never said this when I have built out my same game parlays. Wow. Don't tail this. It's probably not going to hit. Just don't. It's a weird parlay. All right, we're going Kareem Hunt because I didn't get a number as he did when he built his. Kareem Hunt over 48.5 rushing yards. Again, he made his Chiefs debut, his season debut last week, went for almost 70 yards on the ground. As Tom alluded to, Carson Steele, he's got the fumbleitis. He is not going to be the primary back, and there is no Isaiah Pacheco. The CEH is not a thing. I mean, this is Kareem Hunt's backfield now. This is KC reunion before, he was excommunicated for off-the-field reasons. I expect him to get the lion's share of the workload out of the backfield. I would even be intrigued by his rushing and receiving numbers. But just in terms of him covering, going for 50-plus on the ground, I do like that a lot tonight. It is definitely one of my stronger plays. Now, I mentioned the Chiefs. Yeah, I do think they're going to win. But can you really, really trust them to win this thing going away? And so, if you wanted to insert the spread, you could do that in terms of the Saints side. But I just think we're going to have a back and forth kind of hard-hitting defensive affair to where I want to go to the under. It's 43 at most places. I built this at FanDuel. That was available at 42.5. I didn't want to get under that 43. So as you can see, I moved it to 43.5 at the minus 122. Then the anytime touchdown. I feel like I'm stealing from Tom. He is usually the anytime touchdown guy. I very rarely throw these in. And this is sort of where I say, maybe don't tail it. I don't know. Travis Kelce to find the end zone. He's just not the Travis Kelce of old. We're looking at almost plus 150 on your best number. In this case, a plus 145 as part of this nearly 8-to-1 parlay. This is, again, going with the whole trends are our friends until they're not sort of thing. Kelce, in his career, he has played 13 Monday Night Football games. He has scored in 9 of them for a total of 13 touchdowns across those games, all right? And factor in, as we know, the depleted receiving core. There is no Rashee Rice. And so Kelce's a safety blanket. I expect Mahomes to be looking in his direction.
All right, we'll see if trends are our friends. Tom, what do you have for us for the same game parlay today?
Yeah, it hinges a lot on Kareem Hunt, and I'm actually going to drop it down a little bit to his alt 40+. Like I said, he should be the guy in the backfield for the Chiefs. Don't expect Steele or Samaje Perine to play a big role. I also think he's going to be finding the end zone. They brought him in for a reason. They need that consistency when it comes to the backfield. So we're getting the touchdown from Kareem Hunt. We're getting the 40-plus yards from Kareem Hunt, minus 176. Again, we're alting it down. And then building a little bit of correlation into this. If the Chiefs are out ahead, we're going to see some passing from the Saints. Alvin Kamara over 33.5 receiving yards. Why? The Chiefs' second highest blitz rate per dropback, 18.8% hurry rate per dropback, also second highest, 15% knockdown, QB knockdown per dropback, highest in the league, and pressure rate combined, 30.3%, also the highest. We know the pressure that the Chiefs can bring. This means Carr will not have the time to look down the field to someone like Rashid Shaheed. He's not going to be getting that deep ball off. We know that Chris Olave is probably going to be seeing Trent McDuffie out on the field, and this means the easy check down passes are going to be going to Kamara because Derek Carr is simply not going to have the time. So I'm very low on Olave. I'm very low on Rashid Shaheed in this matchup, and it's all going to Kamara in the passing game.
Oh, now we got less than a minute, but at least for right now, Dave, what's catching your attention the most? Like, one of the plays.
That both can't win. Like, I don't think both can win tonight because one has Hunt and one has Kelce. So I don't know. I don't know if they both score. If we have limited amounts of touchdowns, it's probably Kelce tonight. But Kelce's the most bet on individual player prop to score a touchdown across sports books all over the country. Everybody wants to see him score tonight, including my house, who have become Chiefs fans. They all want to see Kelsey get the end zone. All the girls want to see it.
Absolutely. Well, we'll let you keep processing
Everyone
that.
wants to see
We'll
Kelsey
have Dave's
score
decision
tonight.
on the other side of this break, so stay with us here on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid TV.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here. And the Bills looked so good up until this point. And, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind. Because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run of the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Back at it with Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show with Kasey, Dave, Tom, and Adam. We just wrapped up same game parlay. Some good stuff from both Adam and Tom, but you guys know the king has to make his choice. And today there are no ties because there's two things on each card that I think work against one another. So Dave, who gets the roses?
What
today?
are are you thinking the same as me as far as the scoring prop thing working against each other? Is that where you're at?
Yeah, that's where I was at. Okay.
All right. So I'm thinking the same thing. It's Monday, and Tom keeps winning these things when we put them up, and tonight Adam sold me when he said don't tail this, because by him saying that, it is now a big favorite to actually win. So as soon as Kaufman said that, Adam, you got me. The only one I like the under. I think Hunt is the centerpiece as far as the rushing game. You got to get Kelsey in the end zone. That's the hardest one based on the odds, plus 145. The other two, favorite and a pick 'em. I'll go with the plus 781. And you can 100% bet that if this thing hits, we're going to tweet about it and we're going to put it out. So that was great.
We're going to make sure we have that clip ready to go for Adam.
Is that the gambling equivalent of like when you're younger and they say that boys are mean to girls that they really like? Don't tail this. Yeah. Means it's definitely gonna hit. Absolutely.
There you go.
I do have to push back a little bit though on your logic. I guess the two of you on like Tom and I working against one another. One, you didn't acknowledge that we're very much in unison when it comes to Kareem Hunt. But as far as the whole like can Hunt and Kelsey both score? Why can't they? Are you telling me the Chiefs can't score 14 points in this game? They're not going to get 2 touchdowns? Why is it not possible that he and I have just nailed both Kansas City's anytime TV scores?
No. Dave, don't cave. Don't cave for him. It's because
it could happen. I just don't think it will.
It's because how many teams have been red so deficient versus the Saints, number one. Number two, there's been a different catcher in the end zone for the Chiefs at week in and week out. The only guy who's been consistent in that sense has been Xavier Worthy. I mean, it could be Schuster, it could be Watson, it could be Steele, it could be a list of guys to get in the end zone for the Chiefs tonight because it's backyard football. There's no script with this team, and when it puts it all on the line just to get a W, it's a hot mess. And a win.
Listen,
so it can go.
When Hunt and Kelsey both score in this game, you are going to hear from me on Twitter. Right? I can promise you that.
Well, I'm not putting my house on it, so yeah.
No, I mean, I'm already homeless over this whole thing, so that's fine. I don't have a house. I saw TV shaking your head back and forth, Tom. What were you shaking your head back and forth to know?
Yeah, talk to me, Tom.
About the premise that both Hunt and Kelsey won't be scoring when we consistently talk about the Chiefs' offense being at its weakest point at really any point over the last 2 years, when these are factually the two most players that have the most familiarity with Mahomes. That's what it is. Like, it is Kelsey. He hasn't scored. Everyone's saying he's due. You're saying he's the most bet player. It's this, that, the other thing. And again, kind of going to the point that Adam and I have brought up is that they brought in Kareem Hunt for a reason, because he has this knowledge of the Andy Reid offense. They want him there. They want to give him the ball. He should be scoring. It's not going to be P. Ryan. It's not going to be Carson Steele. It's going to be Kareem Hunt scoring his first touchdown with the Chiefs this season.
So riddle me this. What has familiarity done between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce thus far this season besides last week?
When Rice has been an emerging stud wide receiver up until last week when he got hurt, and he has been eating up the targets. And as I said to you many times, there were going to be games this year coming into the season. I said that Kelce wasn't going to have a big season because they drafted Xavier Worthy, one of the fastest prospects coming out of the combine ever. They have Rice, who is this emerging talent. They had Isaiah Pacheco. And my point about Kelce was he didn't need to have big games. That's kind of what we saw up until last week, the first time that they didn't have Rice on the field. Right. So my take on the Chiefs was kind of right up until this point.
All right. Well, I'm also going to throw this out there.
Bubble wrapped for the playoffs.
I'm going to give you this.
Huh? Well,
Mahomes
go ahead.
Is scoring tonight. Mahomes is scoring tonight.
Well, here's my next thing.
That's going to mess up it all.
Tom wasn't wrong about the versatility or like how they're going to utilize different people and the fact that you don't have to rely on Travis Kelce that much. That's all well and good. But I'm just talking about the fact that script-wise, they do whatever it takes to get in the end zone. Travis Kelce's probably one of the most highly marked people, the expectations there. We're talking about him having a big game versus who? The Chargers? Like, we're not even taking into account when he has his moments to explode. So I'm just saying I don't know how much familiarity and trend can play into what the Chiefs may or may not do tonight. And it's anybody's ball to carry in as long as they can get the job done. So that's the only reason why I don't know about this whole Kelce Hunt thing. If you guys are wrong, I will make sure that somebody delivers y'all cookies because I don't have a house to put on the line tonight. But Dave, where are you going with this one?
So, I mean, that's good. I like the pushback. I like all of the discussion. We'll see who gets in the end zone.
Me.
I wanted to talk about the total real quick because the game total is one thing. Which half? Because it's been a very evident trend for bettors. First half Chiefs, second half Chiefs. Tale of two Chiefs. I mean, it's been very, very different. So when you look at this thing, the odds are alarmingly the same. Although there's a big number out there, and it's 22-1. And when the boys get it, they'll have the graphic for it. That's where I'm going to go. There it is right there. Minus 120 for the highest scoring half in the first half. Minus 110 for the second half. Adam, could I interest you in a tie? Could I interest you in a tie for which half scores? I mean, that's 22-1.
Yeah, I mean, you could interest me in it at that number for sure. I mean, it's not like it's crazy. The Saints have been playing in games that they've lost anyway, close games, and the games that they've won again have been routes. And as far as the Chiefs, I said it earlier, every game that they have played has been within 7 points. So yeah, it's not beyond rhyme or reason that we could be talking about a game that's even at the half. Absolutely. And I'll throw this one in because I've been looking for a place to wedge it. Again, a 5.5 point spread in this one. Patrick Mahomes in his career is 48-36 when not favored by at least 10 points. So whenever you're looking at games that are expected to be close games, he very marginally is over 500 when it comes to covering the spread. He's used to playing in these types of games. And yeah, he's shorthanded. They're 4-0, and we can praise Hunt, praise Kelce, praise Worthy, whoever, but there's no Pacheco, there's no Hollywood Brown, there's no Rashee Rice. They are thin.
All right. Well, Tom, let's take some things back to head for a second here. Wide receiving group. So obviously, I think it's fair if you want to throw Travis Kelce in the mix, even though he's a tight end, because obviously his role with the Chiefs is to be more on the receiving end, leading the group in terms of props or prop predictions. But where do you lean when it comes to the wide receiving group? We know that Olave typically gets a lot of love in this category. Xavier Worthy is still anticipated to have a pretty big game tonight, regardless. Justin Watson, I saw on your stuff, which I always love, piecing him in there as well. And then Schuster can be somebody that they just kind of split up some needed reps with. But where would you lean prop-wise?
I'm on board with Olave in terms of what the Saints should be trying to do. Ultimately, he is their best receiver outside of Kamara. I'm not going to say he's their best offense player, but I think Olave should be getting the ball. I'm just a little bit concerned about the defense from the Chiefs. Again, I think that Trent McDuffie should be lined up against him, and that's going to present a little bit of difficulty. Xavier Worthy, I think his line's been bet up a good amount. Don't have a whole lot of interest in there. It's actually that secondary player, which is going to be Justin Watson, over 24.5 receiving yards, which I like. We can get to that a little bit later. I can dig into some of the specifics when we round things out with some of our best bets, but that's the spot that I want to be looking. I know a lot of people will be looking to Rashid Shaheed to get that big play. And again, he's that kind of player like Jameson Williams that can get that double dip, gets the over, gets the longest all-in-one catch, because that is the role he plays. He's the downfield threat. Olave is the chain-moving player along with Kamara. So I understand the love for Rashid Shaheed. I just don't think Carr's going to have the time. Again, as I mentioned, the blitzing metrics for the Chiefs, he's not going to have the time to sit back in the pocket and look downfield for Rashid Shaheed.
All right. Well, like I said, still so much to get into. Talk about a few more of these wide receivers. And then, of course, we got to do the tight end love. I will show Travis Kelce more love on the other side of this break, because tight ends might be the call for the Kansas City Chiefs to make way through the Saints defense tonight. So stick with us here on Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show. And on the other side of this break, we'll continue to unpack on SportsGrid TV.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here. And the Bills looked so good up until this point. And, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind. Because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run on the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from, just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Jennings Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back, because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Back at it with Pro Football Today here on SportsGrid TV. It's the pregame party with Kasey, Dave, Tom, and Adam, and we have to get into some like it, love it, or leave it, because I think me and the boys have some fun things to throw into the mix. So let's get going with some like it, love it, and leave it. All right, because it is Monday, as we keep reminding ourselves, Adam kicked off the same game parlay, but Tom and I are getting on the same page by the end of this freaking show. I'll tell you that much. But regardless, what do you got in the mix for like it, love it, leave it?
Yeah, let's go to Justin Watson, over 24.5 receiving yards. I briefly touched on it right before we hit the break. This year, he actually leads the team with an 11.1 ADOT and a 14.2 air yard share. We look back to last year. His ADOT was up at 17.5, which is massive, and a 23% air yard share. He's the third most snaps among wide receivers. This is now second without Rice. Last year, he was also third. Coming into week 5, the Saints, they've allowed the 9th most yards to wide receivers, up at 654. We also see Justin Watson now leading the Chiefs because Rice is out 1.2 yards per route run. He was on the team for the last few seasons. Give me Justin Watson going over 24.5, and dare I say maybe a little sprinkle on 40-plus yards tonight as well.
Oh, all right, King. What do you think? Do you like this one?
Wow.
Like this one? Or are you leaving this one?
So while you were talking, I looked at his receptions, and it's 2.5 with the juice to the under. So we got to get over 24.5 yards with probably, hopefully for you, more than 3 catches. I mean, if he gets more than 3 catches, I think this is easy. I think I like this one. I don't love it, but I can't leave it because he's going to catch at least 2 passes.
That is for sure. And his drops have been kind of problematic. I don't know if it's just him not finishing or polishing off his routes and stuff like that, but he has to get in sync with Patrick Mahomes because he has the capability. And I'm not going to say why I know he has the capability because I say it every single week. So, Adam, what do you got for like it, love it, and leave it, just in case you guys have any bets going on? What are you throwing in the mix?
Yeah, we're going after a couple of wide receivers here and hoping that half one gets us to half two. I like to mess around with these. We are looking for the number 1 wide receiver, Chris Olave, on the Saints side, and quite possibly the number 1 by definition wide receiver, Xavier Worthy, on the Chiefs side, to each have 20-plus yards in each half. Now, Olave, he's gone for 80-plus yards each of the last 3 games in total. That's not a big ask out of him. He could do that on a couple of different plays, obviously. For Worthy, remember, he opened up after Rice went down last week. Same number of targets as he's consistently had with 4, but he had 3 catches for over 70 yards, and I do think he's going to be more involved tonight, especially if the Saints look to prioritize taking Travis Kelce out of the game. Now, when I sent this to our producers, the number was plus 800, as you saw on your screen, 8-1. However, Tom, you know, the line mover that he is, he went and played it, and he sent the bet to a bunch of his degenerate friends, and they played it. And so now it's 7-1. It's plus 700 on FanDuel, but I like this play a lot, even still.
Tom made some moves. Sharpie, what's the move here for you?
The move is first I got to put on the listening glasses because I didn't realize that we were sending out plays. I thought we were just doing the plays, you know, here on SportsGrid, but Tom is out sending it to either Discord groups, chat plays, all this other stuff. And this line shot down. I'm impressed. I think we got a shot. I mean, you know, and Adam comes with some stuff. This is a big plus. So the expectations, temper your expectations. It's not supposed to hit, but 8-1 hits, as you know, these things hit. So Olave should be easy. It's all about Worthy. It's all about Worthy, Huddy. We get him over in the first half, and you know I'm going to be distracted watching a baseball game later because if Worthy goes over the second half, our notifications are going to blow up. Just be prepared.
Just put the game volume up for the football game, and then you can physically watch the baseball game. This is my long shot for the day.
What do you got, Huddy? Let's go.
As long
Give it to the people.
As long as fumbleitis doesn't come in hot and heavy and cryptic like arthritis tends to do, then Carson Steele for a first touchdown, maybe. Who knows? And I'm taking that at 12-1 odds.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
What quarter is he going to score it in?
You know what?
It's a real skill shot.
Second quarter tutty for the steal.
Well, then I feel even better about the under.
The under.
No.
Yeah, that's the under, that means.
Okay.
No, I didn't pick a quarter this time. I just have it over. I have him as the first touchdown. So
Listen,
It
this
could
is
come
gonna
in the
be a
first,
hell
it
of a
comes in the
party.
second.
If we get love it, if all three of these things hit, man, oh man, it's going to be. I mean, people are going to be very, very happy with this pregame show. So
Heads will roll. That's
yeah,
for sure.
that's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Bankroll raises for everybody.
There we go.
Right.
Well, we have less than
Now
a
we're
minute, but we'll
talking.
get to some final thoughts. I did kind of sneak in there my love for the tight ends and that I was going to show Travis Kelce some respect. Tom had an opposing opinion, but we love that. I do have Kelce for over 5.5 receptions. I think he helps get his team down the field. I think they choose a different option in the end zone. But tight ends have averaged 91.25 receptions versus the yards, or receiving yards versus the Saints. Excuse me. Tight ends have also averaged 7.5 receptions per game versus the Saints. So obviously that big man gets some big work done versus this Saints defense, and I'm hoping that it continues to roll. Obviously everybody wants to see Travis Kelce have himself a day. I just don't want to see him in the end zone because I'm rooting against you guys. That's all. Your thoughts on the
Wow.
tight end, Dave?
That sounded personal right there. No, that's fine. But if
I don't mind living
your
on an
guy
island.
catches
I
all
don't
those
mind.
passes, I think he gets a touchdown. So we can have a tight end night. It be a Travis Kelce night. You're happy.
What about Noah Gray?
Viewers are happy.
None of us are giving love to Noah Gray.
Listen,
He's sitting at 18
we're
and a
talking.
half.
Wait, just wait. We're talking about the wrong tight end. All right, I should have made a bigger deal out of this guy and just put him into my same game parlay. Juwan Johnson on the Saints side. Remember, you got the rib issue for Taysom Hill. He's not playing in this one. The Chiefs have allowed the most yards in the NFL this season to opposing tight ends. They have been gashed by Isaiah Likely, by Mike Gesicki. Kyle Pitts had a 50-yard play in that game when they matched up with the Falcons. Juwan Johnson's player prop is barely 20 yards. Over on him, you know what? Over 2.5 receptions at plus money, too, while we're at it.
See, the tight end love is enough to go around. But stick with us here because we got one more rally with these gentlemen before you take it to the wall with Donnie Wright's side. So stick with us here on the other side of this break on SportsGrid TV.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here. And the Bills looked so good up until this point. And, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind. Because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run on the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all season long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
It's the Pro Football Today pregame party with Kasey, Dave, Tom, and Adam. We got one more rally with these gentlemen, but as you all know, you can continue to chat with us over on X because we chat throughout the game. Obviously, we pick each other's brains. We might give each other some crap because we don't agree, but this is one big happy family at the end of the day. I couldn't be happier to run this show with you all, which means it's time for some final thoughts. Any other best bets you want to throw into the mix? Tom, I'm going to start with you. Final thoughts when it comes to Monday Night Football.
Yeah, one prop that I didn't touch on for quarterbacks would be Derek Carr under 31.5 attempts. He's only averaging 5 per game. And again, I don't think the Saints want to turn this game into a shootout. I think they're trying to keep things controlled. I did speak about the passing with Kamara. I think Kamara can get there with Carr being, I would say, in that 26 to 28 range. Again, my overall take for this is the Chiefs win. They don't cover. Final score 23 to 20, 24 to 20. It's going to be super tight on the over-under.
All right, I like it. I do have 2 quarterback props. I actually have Mahomes under 33.5 pass attempts, but also an interception. His touchdown-interception ratio is not too hot so far this season, actually, in terms of what he could typically produce, and I'm just kind of picking up on some things from the Saints secondary. Adam, what are your final thoughts when it comes to this matchup or any additional things you want to throw into the pot?
Well, another thing with Mahomes, I would consider the over 18.5 rushing yards for him might have ticked up to 19 or 20.5 as well. I just, we see it. He scrambles, especially if he's looking to run out clock or whatever it may be. I think that's a good play. Again, with Kareem Hunt, I like his over for rushing yards. So does Tom. We haven't discussed over 11.5 attempts. I think that is something that if you think Hunt is in for a good game, you're only looking for a dozen attempts out of him. Yet another thing that plays in well if you believe the Chiefs are going to be leading this game. Now, all of that being said, I would love to see the Saints be yet another 5.5+ point dog that win outright. I think that would be really good for the NFL. Saints, they could just as easily be 4-0, much like the Chiefs. The 2 games that they have lost have been by a total of 5 points. So, drawn the short straw a couple of times, unfortunately, to sit at 2-2. But I would love to see them win and have the Sam Darnold-led Minnesota Vikings be the NFL's only perfect team at this point. That would be a lot of fun through 5 weeks.
That's still blowing my mind. Are we looking at another Minnesota miracle? That's a whole nother show for a whole nother day. I wish we could get all into that. Dave, final thoughts for this Monday Night Football matchup?
Well, I mean, this is a really good game, and it's going to cap off a really another interesting week in the NFL. But you guys know how dialed in I am with the baseball. In Kansas City, it's about the Chiefs tonight in this game. But I had this one handy, and just in case anybody wants to do a Kansas City to Kansas City parlay, do a little money line. The Royals beat the Yankees, and then I don't have to hear anything from the boys in the back and all the Yankee fans back there. That would be fun. And then I think the Chiefs win, and yeah, Vinny, it's not time for the Mets. Don't start,
I was like, I think this is like a whole Mets squad here, maybe besides Walls.
Everybody's riding with the Mets. That's fine. But tonight, Chiefs win. I think the team total under for the Saints. Team total under for the Saints.
We'll see how that one goes. And then I realized we're also going to throw the poll out there. Let's see if Hunt and Kelsey can get into the end zone. But you know what, gentlemen? Because I like you all so much, I'm going to be transparent as to why I'm pushing against this. I'm pushing against this because with the number of touchdowns that we foresee, if this hits the under, I actually do have a Schuster touchdown on my card tonight that has to pay out for me. So it was just a selfish move. It was really just a selfish move. I tried to make it more than it is, but I didn't feel.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but look what does that say about me to not go this entire show and let you guys think that I was really just rooting against you? Like, obviously, I had a pocket pick here, and that's where I was going with that one. So, man, don't you know you guys? Thank you for listening. I will say this. I also do have Olave over, but 59.5 receiving yards. I've said it like a broken record. It only takes a couple chunk plays to get him into the mix. We'll see what goes down with Patrick Mahomes. We'll see if it's the big game for Travis Kelce. And how many Kansas City Chiefs can we get in the red zone tonight? Well, we'll find out here shortly. As for these gentlemen, follow them on their X profiles. Chat with us over on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to throw that poll up there still for fun, though, because, Tom, I think we're going to have some fun with this one. Saints, Chiefs, getting ready to come in coming hot, but we got one more rally on the other side of this break coming up here. It's me and Mr. Right Side breaking down some best bets. Let's see what's going on before In-Game Live takes over the coverage here. We'll catch you on the other side of this break.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here. And the Bills looked so good up until this point. And, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind. Because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run on the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all strong, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Where are we standing? Are we standing good? All right.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show with not only Kasey Hudson, because we dismissed the other guys. It's time to get them out of here. No, it's time for Mr. Donnie Rightside. And look, I don't know if me and the gentleman were seeing eye to eye this whole 40 some odd minutes. So maybe we have better luck. I feel like we always have better luck.
Yeah, we simpatico.
Exactly.
We're in tune. We know what the deal is. It's Monday Night Football. It's prime time. Let's get after it.
We're right there.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Yep.
So let me know where you stand with this Saints-Chiefs matchup so far, because Saints obviously got the defense. Thinking of strength of schedule, Chiefs falling apart because of injuries, but the Chiefs are that team that you could just never count out. So where do you go with this one?
It just seems like the way you break down the Chiefs is what we always expect a victory, but we expect a close victory. And that's really what's been happening this season so far. The Chiefs are at home in Arrowhead Stadium. Are they the better team talent-wise? I'm not so sure of that. But one side has Andy Reid, one side has Patrick Mahomes, the other doesn't. So if I'm looking at the thread the needle tonight, it feels like a Kansas City victory, but also a close game, which means a good chance for New Orleans to cover for me, Kasey.
All right. You said thread the needle, so I got to take it there. We've got a team that's going up against a secondary that could be problematic for Patrick Mahomes. I do potentially have him throwing an interception tonight. TD to interception ratio sitting 6-5 heading into this matchup. But we have a team that doesn't really have a solid running back group, although Hunt has come in the mix. The guys are banking on Hunt to have a big game. This is his job. This is what he was brought in for. Do we see a big ground game from the Chiefs tonight?
I don't know how big the ground game is going to be, because can we really rely on Kareem Hunt like it's 3 to 4 years ago when he's much more in his prime at this point? Because, yes, he did have a good comeback game, but it's still working your way into a system that you're familiar with but haven't been there for a couple years. But also, I think you bring up a good point on Patrick Mahomes and the interceptions. We would never think that way. Like, let's come into the game. What's a good look, Kasey? Patrick Mahomes to throw an interception? No, because he had dominant wide receivers, dominant tight end, a fantastic running game, and a great offensive line. That's not really there. Both the tackles are struggling, which means the New Orleans defense should be able to get pressure. And if you're relying on guys to make sight-read adjustments, like Xavier Worthy, a rookie wide receiver, he goes the wrong way, you throw the right pass, it's an interception. It's a good look on an interception that we'd never look for Patrick Mahomes.
I know, and I don't want to disrespect Patrick Mahomes, but to build off of what you just mentioned, another guy to get into the mix typically, which I love him, Justin Watson, former Buck. But he hasn't been polishing off his routes. We've seen him drop a number of balls from Patrick Mahomes, so the trust factor isn't entirely there either. He has a number of people to still work through, but then that brings us to who gets into the end zone. But before I get ahead of myself, what are some of your best bets for this matchup?
Yeah, taking a look tonight, got a couple parlays in. Now, granted, we don't have 53.5 as a total. It's 43.5, so it's a little bit measured. So I took some alt numbers here. Patrick Mahomes, to move the football, he's going to have to throw it. As you see the graphic there, 200-plus yards. Derek Carr going to have to move the football through the air, plus 175. Not hard numbers, not 325, not 350. And also Travis Kelce at 40-plus receiving yards. You saw him finally come to life in that last game. The important part about that is Andy Reid knows you're going to have to scheme him open, and I think he's more willing to do that now. Almost a slow play, Kasey, into the season. Yeah. Now you need him more than ever. He's got to perform. I think that parlay makes a lot of sense here.
All right, so help me solve this debate from earlier. The guys think that Hunt and Kelce can get into the end zone for the Chiefs tonight, yet most people are favoring the under of this 43.5 total. Could you foresee that?
I could foresee that because I don't know if we're going to have a track meet tonight, right? It's more about possessing the football, getting good field position, using your kicking game, and maybe winning it late. That's really the MO for the Kansas City Chiefs. But once they do get down there, it's typically, I want Isaiah Pacheco. He's not there anymore. Right. I want Carson Steele. They tried that. He fumbled the football. The one thing I know is Kareem Hunt is athletic and can score on the goal line. And also, who's your best friend? I always say this. What is your best friend as a quarterback? It's a tight end. Travis Kelce in the red zone tonight absolutely makes sense to me.
Okay. I was hoping for a little tight end love somewhere else. Maybe Noah Gray is sitting at 18.5.
Sure.
But tight end should have a big game versus Saints regardless. I was telling the guys, 91 is the average of receiving yards for tight ends versus the Saints defense, but also 7.5 receptions, so you can see them get involved action-wise. But another guy, you mentioned Steele. I did get a little crazy, but it was my long shot to throw him in for the first touchdown. I know some coaches like to try to give the opportunity back to a kid who makes that mistake so that they can get themselves out of their head. I don't know. I just want to see another chance.
Sneak attack, yeah. Look, Alec Ingold yesterday scored a touchdown for the Miami Dolphins. Why not? 3 yards, nobody saw coming, boom, end zone.
Exactamente. Yeah. But we have so many options when it comes to the Chiefs. So say that Travis Kelce is being locked in coverage-wise because that's what the Saints are expecting. He had a big game last week versus the Chargers. Everybody, please keep that in mind. But then outside of that, you're looking at a guy who has been kind of isolated or maybe game planned out. We don't know yet. Who's the next guy up? Because I have Schuster to be the guy in the end zone for Patrick Mahomes. We saw him make a great connection. I think it was week 3, to be honest. But he has an array of guys that he can go to in the red zone. Would you pick any touchdown props outside of Travis Kelce?
Here's the one I want to keep an eye on, and it might even go with a touchdown prop. We always talk about, let's just say, getting creative on offense, because Andy Reid's going to have to do that now. Down multiple wide receivers. Rashee Rice was your go-to guy. He's not there. Xavier Worthy coming into the season. One thing I noticed, Kasey, in the preseason games, they were handing the football off to him, which means on jet sweeps, I believe he can get 2 to 3 rushes tonight. So if you're looking at one of those props where I believe it's around 45 to 47 yards total for him in rushing and receiving, bump that up to 50 at a plus money number. I would be surprised if he doesn't catch a pass for at least 30 yards tonight and also get at least 2 runs, which one of those will be surprise, double-digit run, and you're on your way.
All right. Well, we talked about the potential rush game or lack thereof for the Kansas City Chiefs, but you got an Alvin Kamara who either hasn't been healthy enough to play versus the Chiefs, played versus them banged up, probably had a top game of like 54-ish rushing yards. Could we see a larger performance out of Kamara tonight?
He's going to have to be. And you know what a key injury is? You know, Friday they ruled out Taysom Hill, which I thought was key. We see when he's playing and when he's not playing. That offense is really efficient, particularly in the red zone, because it adds that extra running punch. Nobody knows how to defend Taysom Hill in the backfield with Alvin Kamara. Now you don't have that. It's much more on Kamara to make his own stuff, which means you could look at the screen game in the red zone. You can look at those little shuttle passes out. I call it like the satellite back plays, operating in space outside. But also, if it's on the 1 or 2 yard line, there's nobody else to go. Nowhere else to go but Alvin Kamara.
All right, so another debate we have to settle here is the quarterback matchup. A few defenses have been able to keep Patrick Mahomes low on his typical totals. I actually have him under 33.5 attempts just because he can air at the ball but not have to do it through a number of attempts. And plus, I don't see how much he's going to air at the ball versus the secondary of the Saints. Who has the more favorable props here? Is it Carr or is it Mahomes? Because a lot of people are leaning Carr with the defense he'll be going against.
Could be based on the gameplay. Like if you're expecting a victory for the Kansas City Chiefs, you're looking in the fourth quarter instead of trying to extend yourself and score points, you're coming from behind. But also, that hasn't been a key indicator in Derek Carr. You like Derek Carr as a front runner. Can be aggressive, can keep the defense on balance. We don't like Derek Carr. It's like, hey, I have to come back in the fourth quarter in prime time on the road against Kansas City. That could be tough. But also, you look on the offensive side for him, Rashid Shaheed is that ultimate deep threat. But Olave is really coming into his own tonight. I like him to get at least, I had an all-prop parlay where he at least gets to 50 yards or more. He needs to have a big night. Put it this way, Kasey. Olave doesn't show up tonight, Saints don't show up.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay, that's something to keep in mind. But unpack this prop parlay for us, because this sounds important.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. So the two props, again, that we have tonight, it's Mahomes over 200 yards, Derek Carr plus over 175, and Travis Kelce at 40 yards. That's a plus 124. And then, of course, Derek Carr, Patrick Mahomes, each to throw a touchdown pass tonight, which isn't a lot. And then we're going to throw in Olave for 50 receiving yards and Xavier Worthy 25 receiving yards. That one pays out at a plus 190 price. They're low numbers here. And, of course, they look so good up there on the graph. Like, how can that lose? Trust me. Injuries, bad play, it happens. But this is one where I'm coming into a game that's 43.5 saying those are doable numbers for me tonight.
100%, because that lines up with my card selfishly, because I need Olave to go over 59, actually. But
come on, 60
I think it's
plus.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he's a chunk play guy, or he's going to be the main guy to go to. Xavier Worthy, you mentioned the combination there, but regardless, he should be able to pick up those 25 because he should be sitting at the top of the wide receiving conversation. Outside of what's expected for Travis Kelce, Worthy is that guy with the tap on his shoulder. Not to mention, where did we lose the graphic to? Anyway, the passing touchdowns, that is going to be crucial. We talked about the run game maybe not being a heavy situation for tonight. It doesn't have to be, so regardless, they're going to have to be able to find that end zone. Saints defense has been able to kind of keep teams out of the end zone, so we'll see what takes place. But it's time to hand this over to the in-game live crew, which means you get more of Donnie Rightside. You get Joe, you get Kevin, but you get to get all the information and the breakdowns that you need to enjoy this Monday Night Football matchup. Saints, Chiefs. It's about that time. I'm very excited. I'll throw my best bets online because, well, I only got some good feedback from you.
Yeah.
I didn't get good feedback from
What do we need,
other
though?
guys.
What do you need the genie to say yes to? What do we got?
Mahomes under the 33.5 attempts. I have him with an interception. I have Olave over 59.5. Travis Kelce over 5.5 receptions.
Yeah.
Juju to get in the end zone.
That's a good one.
There we go. That's the only voice I needed. So let me know your thoughts over on Twitter next, but most importantly, follow all of us over there as well. Chat with us throughout the game and stick with us in game live. Pro Football Game Day is coming at you hot on the other side of this break.